We'll read 22nd verse of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as it is. Ye hi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya eva te adi antavantaha kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukkhayo nayevate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukkhayo nayevate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukkhayo nayevate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Krishna says, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Purport by His Divine Grace, Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Prabhupada ki. Material sense pleasures are due to the contact of the material senses, which are temporary because the body itself is temporary. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary. Knowing well the joys of transcendental pleasures, how can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasure? In the Padma Purana it is said, Ramante yoginonante satyananda chidatmani iti rama padena so param brahma vidiyate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasure from the absolute truth, and therefore the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is known as Rama. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also it is said, Nayam deho deha bhajanri loki kashtan kaman arhate vid bhujam ye tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam suddyatyasmat brahmasokyam tu anantam. My dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure. While in this human form of life, such pleasure are available to the stool eaters, hogs. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life by which your existence will be purified, and as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasures, which are the causes of continuous material existence. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukkhayo nayevate adyantavanta kaunteya nate sharamate buddha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to the contact with material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have beginning and end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudhadatamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shundravadi Paschatya Deshatarine Yantah Pravishya Mama Vachimamam Prasuptam Sanjivayata Kila Shakti Daraksvanamna Anyam Shahasta Charana Shravana Tvagadim Pranay Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhya Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada quotes in this verse, in the purport to this verse, the beautiful verse of Rishabha Dev. When he was about to leave home, he's addressing his young sons. He had many sons. And 100 sons. And before leaving home to take the life of renunciation, he gives them instruction. Very important instructions, which are not very pleasant to hear, unfortunately. But nevertheless, it's very important, and if we try to penetrate into the deep meaning of these instructions, we will be greatly benefited. It says here, Nayam deho deha bhajanri loke kashtan kaman arhati vidbhujamye tapodivyam putrakayana sattvam sudhyatya smad brahma sokyam tvanantam. He says that we should not be mad after the temporary happiness of this world. And everyone in this world is mad after the temporary happiness of it, unfortunately. And he says the reason is very simple, is that, it's available in every species of life. Actually, human species of life is not so good for happiness. Nobody suffers as much as human beings. Other species of life are much better equipped to be happy in this world. If you become a cat, it's a very happy life. No exams, And you get plenty of food and you enjoy, Dogs are, of course, in India, dogs maybe not so happy. But if you're lucky, you will be born as a dog in the West. And you will get, there are special parlor shops for dogs in the West. And there are special, food shops for the dogs. You will get very nice life. And no work for it, you're just born as a dog and you enjoy life. You don't have to go for the education, Everyone loves you, When you're human, you have so many enemies, When you're a dog, everyone loves you and pets you. Such a nice, and then you have your so-called master who is serving you very obediently. In the West, the master has to, when he walks with the dog in the morning, he has to clean his stool. So nice. So and then the hogs are there. Very, very nice life. Very nice life. Human life is very miserable. You live in these big cities and you work hard, and then you get little pleasure. So Rishabha Dev says that the intelligent person, they're not after these pleasures. They want Brahma Sukham. Why these pleasures are not so good? Krishna explains in this verse, and Rishabha Dev explains in the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, is that it's all temporary. You work so hard, what you get in the end? Nothing. You just die. And you die in a very miserable condition, Animals, they don't have so many diseases. How many diseases human beings have? And such miserable diseases. Cancer. You suffer from this disease for months and months and months. And you die. And this soul, it's, what's the point? But the point is that the human life is very important, because in the human life we can understand that there is unlimited pleasure. Brahma Sokhyam tu anantam. This Brahma Sokhyam, the spiritual pleasure, the sukha, the ananda of Brahma, of spirit, is tu anantam. It's unlimited. There is no end. It's continuous. So the human form of life is meant to experience this pleasure. The human form of life is meant for us to give a chance. It's a chance. We have a chance. Everyone, every human being, everyone is equal. Everyone is equal in this regard. Everyone has a chance to experience this pleasure if he lives his life properly. But for that, of course, topo divyam putrakayana sattvam, you have to do some austerity. And nobody likes to do austerity, but the Vedic culture is teaching us how to do austerity. Ultimately, that's a very small price. Actually, this austerity is a very small price for the result which we get at the end. And but to finish this, we need some time. Therefore, Rishabha Dev gives this instruction to his young sons. It's not so easy, because the program which we have to enjoy this world is extremely difficult. It's very deep. It's very deeply ingrained program. And I will try to explain this program which we have. We have to be very clear and very realistic about the problem which we are dealing with. Everyone is programmed to enjoy in this world, and it seems so natural and so easy and so proper, right? This is the meaning of life, and everyone therefore is losing this chance. And you cannot, it is said in the Bible, you cannot serve two masters at the same time. You cannot try to, take some middle path, some compromise, a little bit here, a little bit there. No, it doesn't work, unfortunately. So we have to be very determined, and we have to, know very clearly the scale of the problem we have to deal with. This samsparshaja bhoga, the bhoga, the enjoyment which comes from the sparsha, from the touch, from the nice touch which everyone is trying to experience. And, of course, definitely it's the sex is the pinnacle of this. It comes from this samsparshaja bhoga. As Krishna says here, dukkha yone. It's ultimately the source of misery. And why it is the source of misery, and moreover, why everyone is so attached to it? Because our whole existence is based on the wrong basis. It's based on the basis of avidya. What is avidya? What is avidya? Ignorance. Yeah, people say ignorance, but it's not exactly right. Avidya is not ignorance in a sense, because ignorance means the absence of knowledge. And it would not be difficult if we didn't have knowledge. The problem is that we have wrong knowledge. Avidya is not the absence of knowledge. Because if there is no knowledge, you fill it up with knowledge, right? But if you have wrong knowledge, it's very difficult to replace wrong knowledge with the right knowledge. There is a famous story or joke, whatever it is. Two boys came to a piano teacher and asked, "Can you teach us?" And he's a good, really first-class piano teacher. "Can you teach us piano?" And he says, "Yes, I can teach you piano. Please tell me, what is your experience about piano?" And the first boy said, "Well, I don't have any experience with piano." He said, "Okay, so you'll pay me $20 per hour, and I will spend with you, 4 hours a week." And he asked the other boy, and the other boy said, "Oh, I learned piano. I had some other teachers, and I know something about piano, but I really want to learn from you." He said, "Can you show me something?" And he started playing something on piano. He said, "Okay, you will have to pay me $100 per hour, and I will only teach you 2 times a week." I said, How come? I know piano. And for this, you're taking only $20 per hour. Because you have to relearn, and it's very difficult to relearn. I have to first, free you from the wrong, what you learned wrong. So the point is, it's a very important point. When we have wrong knowledge, it's a bad start. It's very difficult. And unfortunately, we all have this wrong knowledge. And therefore, it is said that ignorance is the first cause of our suffering in this world. And ignorance, as I said, again, and it's a foundation, it's a groundwork. It's a ground upon which our whole existence is based. And we all come with this ignorance. And ignorance is not the absence of knowledge. Ignorance is the wrong knowledge. And in Yoga Sutra it is explained what is this wrong knowledge. The wrong knowledge which we all have is that we take something which is anitya to be nitya. Something which is not eternal, we think it's eternal. People look in this world and say, "Oh, such a nice world." And it's eternal. And they always want, everyone wants to build a big house in this world. Why? Because this, what is this house? House is that we need to be well protected in this world, and this is eternal. Everyone wants good house. It's temporary, and people build big houses, huge houses, and everyone thinks, we will live happily with my wife and with children, and everything will be, everyone is trying somehow or other to have a good place in this world, which is temporary. And there's nothing wrong with having a good, place, but what is wrong, and everyone thinks, I will go to America. This is the highest ambition, Of course, India is not a very nice place. It's a miserable place. But if I go to America, then I will enjoy eternally in America. No, first of all, you will die in America too. Everyone in America dies. When Prabhupada went to a radio show in America, and the host of this radio show asked, you came to us from a third world country, where the death rate is so high. Prabhupada looked at him and said, as far as I know, the death rate is everywhere 100%. So everyone dies, even in America, and it's and everyone suffers. In America, people suffer much more. In America, 48% of the population are psychiatric patients. Really, the disease is psychiatric disease. Depression is a psychiatric disease. 48% of the population. This is the extent of happiness American people have. They're all depressed. So to take something which is not eternal to be eternal, and to try to find a permanent place, nice place in this world, and to spend the whole life in this, it's a mistake. And then to take something which is miserable to be the pleasure. And everyone is programmed this way. We all think that material pleasures bring us the happiness, but material pleasures bring miseries. Why? The wise people say there are very serious reasons for this. Why material pleasures brings miseries? First of all, this is the consequence of material pleasure. You drink wine and you get pleasure. Sure, right? Did you try? Don't raise your hands. I don't want to embarrass you. You take it and you get some pleasure. They say, I don't know, but well, I know a little bit. So you get some pleasure, but what is the result? You get terrible headache and completely miserable at the end. And all material pleasures are like this. You take too much food and you get suffering. All material pleasures are designed in such a way. If you misuse them, you only minimize suffering. But if you misuse them, you will suffer as a result. What is the other reason for this? Is that you get addicted. Any pleasure is addictive. You get it and you want to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it again and again and again. And there is no end to it. And moreover, the repetition doesn't give you the same pleasure. So you have to get more pleasure and more portion of drug, and you get even more addicted. And then you stop it, and there is abstinence, and it's very difficult. And then another reason is there. When you get the pleasure, you always anticipate it will end. That's the problem. It is said here, Adyantavanta Kauntaya, they all have end. You enjoy this pleasure, but you know that it's finished, it's, Sunday is nice, but very soon it finishes. And then you have to go to work again. You experience some pleasure, but you know that it will end. And therefore, even while you experience it, you're miserable because you know it will end. And then there is this guna viroda, there is, you experience it, and then some other guna comes, the sattva guna gives you some pleasure, but then, you cannot, it's not stable, the material pleasures. That's the reasons why these material pleasures are not really pleasures. They are ultimately the source of misery because of its very nature. And then they say, what is another aspect of ignorance? This is all ignorance which we have. This is all the program which we have. Another aspect of ignorance is that we think that something which is ashuchi is shuchi. We consider this body which is impure to be pure. Vyasadev, who was commenting on this sutra of Yoga Sutra, it's a Yoga Sutra, he says, he composed a verse, very beautiful verse, which is very relevant to all of us. This verse says, we look at a girl and we look at her body and say, her body is made of amrit, made of immortal nectar. She is from the moonlight. She must have come from moon. And her eyes are like lotus petals. And by her smile, she gives such a happiness to the world. And, Hare Krishna. So, but this is how illusion works. We look at somebody and we think, or we look in our own body, and we look in look in this advertisement boards. There are such a beautiful women are there. Usually you don't see them around, but on the advertisement board, they're all there. All these apsaras from the heavens, they're all there, and you get an idea. I want this, but body is, what is body? How we can enjoy the body? It's impure. It's made of stool. Again, commenting on this sutra, the wise people say, why body is impure? Because it's coming from very impure source. Where the body is formed, it's formed in the womb of a mother, near the stool and urine, in the same place. It's more or less the same stuff. Its location, it's coming from sperm and from semen and blood. And it's always secretes something. And if you are not sure that the body is impure, don't bathe for a few days, and you will get the first-hand experience. It always exudes some substances. It's impure. And then the problem is that we think that's me. That's the problem. We take something which is not me to be us. Who I am? I'm this body. And we're all convinced, completely convinced. Of course, we know the theory, I'm not this body. But this is another theory. Who follows this theory? You go to the mirror. Do you think I'm not this body? No, you go, oh, this is me. Oh, very nice. Nobody in front of the mirror thinks, I'm not this body. There was a story that in America, they built a very nice skyscraper, first-class skyscraper. And in the skyscrapers, they need to have this very speed elevators, because you go to the 30th floor or 40th floor or 50th floor, and the elevators have to be somehow very, very high speed. But somehow or other, due to some, maybe they wanted to save some money or whatever, they put slow-going elevators into this building. And all the people, they bought very expensive apartments there, and they started complaining. The elevator is so slow here. And it was very difficult and was very expensive to change the elevator. So the owners of this building, with so many, they started thinking what to do. And they found a very simple solution which cost them $10. They would have to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to change the whole elevator system. For $10, they solved the problem. They put mirror in the elevator. And nobody complained anymore. Everyone was happy. They were happy spending a few minutes in front of the mirror. That's how deeply this problem is there. We all think I'm this body. That's me. I am. I am this body. And therefore, asmita means the false ego. We all develop this false ego. This is the program. The program which we have is based on this ignorance, on this wrong knowledge. And you probably, some of you from this IT, business, right? You're on IT, and you probably know the principle GIGO. Yes, yeah. Garbage in, garbage out. If the input is garbage, what will be the output? The garbage will be output. So the input is avidya, the wrong knowledge. What will be the output? The output will be garbage, will be avidya. The point is that we're trying to base, we have this wrong knowledge which is already in. You don't have to put anything in. Of course, we are happily putting more garbage in during the life, but the problem is that we already have this garbage inside us. The wrong program is already inside us, therefore the outside, what is coming out? The garbage. We live the wrong life. The life is wrong. It's based on mistake. And if you make the mistake in the first, in first place, the result cannot be right. And therefore, it goes. The Vedanta Sutra, not Vedanta Sutra, Yoga Sutra explains further that because of this wrong knowledge, you have asmita. Asmita means ahankara. The wrong understanding of who you are. And wrong understanding of who you are it's very deep. The Yoga Sutra Patanjali explains what is ahankara or asmita. Asmita means drik darshana shaktayor ekatmana eva asmita. Asmita is nothing but when we mix, or we don't understand the difference between the Drik Shakti and Darshana Shakti. Drik Shakti means the ability to see. And Darshana Shakti means the seer, the ability to observe with the ability to see, so to speak, with the instrument of seeing. We don't understand the difference between the instrument and the observer. It's a very serious mistake. Like we work with computer. It's a very, nice example for every one of us. But, and everyone now, there is a, fashion nowadays. People are trying to invent the artificial intelligence. And all these IT people say very soon there will be artificial intelligence. But this whole concept is wrong because it's based on asmita. They think that if we create a very good instrument, somehow or other, in this instrument will appear at one point this Drik Shakti. The observer will be there. But no matter how perfect is the instrument, how perfect are the programs which they create, there will never be observer inside this artificial intelligence. They will never think, I'm the observer. This I will never be there. Computers don't have I. Therefore, they are not begging you not to kill them when you close them up. Otherwise, they will tell you, please, let us live a little more. Let us. The computers, they don't have I. All this artificial, all this claims very soon there will be artificial intelligence, and ultimately all these useless human beings will be extinct because there will be robots. No, don't worry. These useless human beings will always be there. They will not be extinct. They will still remain. Robots, they're stupid. They don't have I. They may be very intelligent. They may be more intelligent in the sense of their ability. They Darshana Shakti may be more. There is no doubt about it. Darshana Shakti may be much more perfect in artificial tools, but there will not be I-ness there. And the problem with this, we think that I is the instrument. We somehow or other don't understand the distinction between the instrument. It's as if, you have this computer, and this computer all of a sudden it hang up, right? Or it's all of a sudden it doesn't go anywhere. And you think, now I am also hang up. We have this problem with our mind or with the body, and we think, I'm finished. No, you're not finished. You're still okay. It's the problem with the mind and with the body. You're not mind and the body, but this is asmita. And then, of course, sukha anushai, raga, you develop raga and dvesha, about which and dukkha anushai, dvesha, it's a very beautiful description of this sukha anushai raga. What is raga? You develop attachment. What is the program? The program is basically which we have has this 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. It's the same principle as in computers. The computers is based on this 0, 1, 0, 1, right? It's only two things. So we also have the program which we have, the program for this material pleasure has only these two options. Raga, dvesha. I like or I don't like. I like raga, sukha anushai, and dukkha anushai, dvesha. This is good, this is not good. This is good, this is not good. So this is the program, And sukha anushai raga means that you experience sukha anushai, something which is left after you experience some pleasure. Some samskara which is left there. Anushai, something which is laying there in your mind after you experience sukha. And therefore, you develop some attachment. And dukkha anushaya dvesha, you develop some aversion because of the past experiences. So you have these experiences. And what you do, you make more and more experiences, right? You try to get more and more experience of this sukha and dukkha in this material world. And you become more and more entangled. As Prabhupada says, the more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. And we're trying to do this sukha and dukkha, we're only trying to do this, right? Right? So because it's based on ignorance, the result is ignorance, the garbage is the result, and the end result is abhinivesh. What is abhinivesh? It's amazing how beautifully Patanjali Muni explains abhinivesh. Abhinivesh means absorption, literally. But he says, Svarasavahi vidushopi ruda abhinivesh. He says that even the learned men have this very strong desire to live. Svarasavahi. This svarasavahi means that this within our body there is this very strong urge to enjoy and to live in this body. We're completely absorbed in this sensual experience in this world, svarasavahi. And therefore, every one of us is afraid of death. This abhinivesh means fear of death. Every one of us is afraid of death. No matter how big yogi you are, Hare Krishna, you're chanting Hare Krishna. We're afraid of that. We don't want to die. We want to live in this body. We want to live in this body for at least 90 years and then somehow or other, go to Vaikuntha. But not before that. Why? Because svarasavahi, it's natural in us. So what I'm explaining, what I'm trying to explain here is that this program is very, very deep in us, very deep. To overcome this program, to change this program, it's not easy. It's a very deeply rooted thing, and it's karma. It's called karma, and therefore people who are trying to get rid of this karma, it's not easy, not easy. Not easy. Durgam pathas tat kavayo vadanti. Katha Upanishad says that the path, the spiritual path is difficult. The kavis, the wise people, they say Durgam pathas tat kavayo vadanti. Of course, Prabhupada said it's very easy path, but sometimes you need to use some tricks. No, spiritual life is not easy. Once a disciple came to Srila Prabhupada, and the disciple said to Srila Prabhupada, spiritual life is so difficult. Prabhupada looked at him with compassion and said, yes, you're right, spiritual life is difficult, but material life is impossible. So, yeah, spiritual life is difficult, but material life is impossible. Because you struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle. For what? You will die. Nothing will happen. You will get just more karma and more karma and more karma. And, the acharyas, while explaining all these verses, the sources of miseries, this is 5 clashes which I explained to somehow or other. This is the program which we have, these clashes, and the garbage which we have inside. And the Acharya says that bhakti is the remedy from this. What is bhakti? What is the sadhana bhakti which we practice? What is this practice? It's the remedy from this program. But this remedy works gradually. We all want some immediate, results. But, and if somebody will tell you, come to us and immediately you will experience some bliss, don't believe them. You need to work hard. You need to spend some time. It takes time to undo this program, to erase this program from our consciousness. Therefore, usually they quote, while explaining this, they quote a very nice verse from Padma Puran, which I will explain a little bit and probably will finish because it's already late. It's a very nice verse from Padma Puran. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bija phalon mukam kraminaiva praliyeta bhakti Vishnu bhakti ratatmana. Yeah. It's a very nice verse which explains this kramena iva praliyetam, how gradually kramena eva, and it is stressed. Indeed, this process is gradual. This process is not immediate. Kraminaiva praliyeta Vishnu tattvara tatmanam. If somebody is attached to Vishnu Bhakti, if somebody not just practicing Vishnu Bhakti, but practicing Vishnu Bhakti with attachment, or Krishna Bhakti, Krishna consciousness with attachment, it's very important. Don't think that by the way, while driving the car, I will chant some Hare Krishna mantra. As usually people do, because that's the only free time for sadhana bhakti. While you drive to your work and drive back. No. Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmanam, it requires, if something is important for you, how you define what is important for you, you give some good time for it, right? If you think that something is important, you find time for it. You find good time for it, not the, so-called free time, useless time. So Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmana, it means that it's valuable. And you tell Krishna how sometimes people say, I don't have time for spiritual practice. What you in reality saying by saying that I don't have time for spiritual practice, you have time for eating, right? Nobody says I don't have time for eating. Somehow or other we find time for eating, and we find good time for eating, right? When we say that I don't have time for spiritual practice, we basically say spiritual practice is not so important for me. Because for whatever we think is important, we find time. Everyone finds time for sleeping, right? Sleeping you have time, right? For spiritual practice you don't have time. Because sleeping is important, spiritual practice is not important. So therefore it is said, Kraminaiva praliyeta Vishnu Bhakti Ratatmana. Gradually you can solve this problem which we all have in a gradual manner. And the gradual manner is very beautifully described. Let's examine it because it's very important for us to understand how it works, how this program is being erased from our consciousness. So it is said, aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bija palon mukam. It is said that when you start doing this real practice of Vishnu Bhakti or Krishna consciousness, practice of Krishna consciousness with attachment, with understanding that that's important, let's try it. You had so many lifetimes. You're being born again and again and again. I recently read a very interesting book by one American psychiatrist. His name is Brian Weiss. You can look in the internet of him, Brian Weiss. He's very highly educated American psychiatrist. He graduated from Yale University and he became a dean in some university or head of psychiatry department in a big hospital in Florida. And he's Jewish by background, so he naturally didn't believe in reincarnation or whatever. And he's very, had a good education, classical education, so never had this new age ideas or whatever. Anyway, he started doing his job, and at one point one lady came to him and he was trying to help her. And he put her in hypnosis after some time. The lady was totally messed up. And she, at one point, in hypnosis, she started, when he was trying to help her to discover the root cause of the problem, because this is how psychiatrists work. They go deep into the subconscious psyche and try to discover what is the root cause of the problems. And she started speaking about past life and some other past life and some other past life. And for 18 months, once a week, she would come to him and she was explaining to him, dozens of her different past lives. And every time she would discover some problem and she would become better and better and better. All the problems in this life, actually all her problems, very deeply rooted problems, all her problems in this life had roots in different lifetimes. Like she was paranoid, she was afraid of, water. She found out that she was drowning in one of her past life, and she was suffocating, and she had such a miserable experience. So he went through it, and initially he couldn't believe what he is hearing. But he had a result. She was getting better. She was not getting better before, no matter what he tried, He found out some problems, some traumatic experiences, some miseries in her present life, but that didn't help. The causes were deeper. So he was very surprised. Moreover, at one point she started speaking, what she was experiencing in between the lifetimes. In between the lifetimes she was experiencing that she's there. And in this in-between time, she started speaking to him. And she said, actually, I'm not speaking about myself, we're speaking to you. And, somebody else started speaking through her to him and, told him something which nobody knew, and definitely this lady couldn't know. And he was so impressed. Anyway, he wrote books, Many Lives, Many Masters. And he's famous. And ever since he's applying this method of past life regression for many people to heal them. What I want to say here is that, and he didn't believe in reincarnation to start with, but he got this first hand, very solid proof of reincarnation and how all our problems, all our karmic problems have the origin in our past existence. And the point is that we have to solve the program which I described is based on our past experiences, based on karma. It's called karma. And any spiritual process, to experience spiritual happiness, you have to somehow or other get rid of your karma, because while here you're experiencing the results of your karma, and that's the obstacle for you to experience something higher, because all your consciousness is concentrated on experiencing the results of your karma. So you have to get rid of your karma. You have to get rid of these sufferings. And this verse in Padma Purana explains how we experience this, how we gradually getting rid of our karma. And it is said, it's very important. First of all, when you start practicing Krishna consciousness in the very beginning, you get rid of aprarabdha karma, which means, a huge amount of karma, which you have, which has not been manifested yet. Every one of us has so much karma. This lady, she was actually, nobody knows, even Krishna says, nobody knows how the karma works. Why we experience this particular karma in this particular time, it's so complicated. Some astrologers know a little bit, they can tell you some reasons, but it's such a complicated thing, Within one lifetime, we create so much karma. Then, for 8,500,000 lifetimes, we're trying to get rid of this karma. The human life is an amazing life. And you get so much karma within this one human life. So, first of all, when you start practicing Krishna consciousness, all your aprarabdha karma which is there is finished, no problem. Quite soon. That's easy. You don't even notice. You start chanting Hare Krishna very seriously. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Aprarabdha karma finished. You can chant once more just in case. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, For sure, 100%. Aprarabdha karma is finished. But then kutam. Kutam is very interesting, very interesting word. What is kutam? Kutam means the tip of the mountain, right? If you know a little Sanskrit. Kutam means the tip of the mountain, the peak of mountain. What does it mean? It means that we have the mountain of our karma. And we have the peak, which is kutam. So the rest of the mountain is finished, but the peak is still there. You know, the huge mountain is finished, but the peak is there. What is this peak? Peak is this portion of karma which we brought in this lifetime with this body. So it's already prarabdha, it's already manifested, but it's just the peak of the mountain. It's a little portion which we will have to experience in this lifetime. Together with this body is there. So, and this kuta, if you continue practicing Krishna consciousness very seriously, after some time you will, kuta means that so many diseases may be there in the future. You have genetically, it means your genes. Everyone has particular genes, and we all brought some genetically programmed diseases with us. Somebody is more inclined to have, diabetes. Somebody is more inclined to have heart diseases. Somebody is more inclined to have cancer, and they're all there. We don't know. We think I'm healthy, but it's there. All the karma, all these sufferings which you have to undergo is there. But if you continue to this kuta, the future sufferings will also be finished. This is krama, the consequence. But for that you will have to work hard. For that you will have to concentrate even more. For that you have to really, for that you have to change, basically you have to change the program which is there in your brain already. Kuta means the program which is in our genes, which is working already and which produced certain type of brain which we have. The beauty is that we can change even genes. When we, it's very scientific what I say. There is a science which is called, very new science, which is called epigenetics. And epigenetics says that initially scientists, when they started experimenting about the genome, human genome, they found out that the amount of DNA which is there in human cells is much more than the real DNA which we need to function our body. Approximately 2% or 5% of DNA is actually working. And the huge amount of DNA is lying dormant, completely inactive. And how is it proper from the, if it doesn't have any use, why the nature would not eliminate it? Why so much DNA is being reproduced and being stored? What is this? What is this information? For what it is? And from this discovery, ultimately, the scientists, this new science of epigenetics was discovered or was developed, that ultimately this science says that all these old genes, which are not really active in this life, which are dormant, but potentially then they can be activated. Due to some experiences, due to some stuff, and they don't know how to activate, they don't know the process. But what I mean to say is that you have genes which are, you're programmed to suffer in a certain way, and that means the defective genes. But you can get rid of these defective genes. You can get good genes to work, which are already there in your cells. And that means kuta. When you work on this level of your karma through Krishna consciousness, you will change basically even your genes. You will look differently. Didn't you notice that you start looking differently? That people who practice for a long time, they change, they become more harmonious. Even the face become different. You know, some people, they are born with some, then, you know, when they chant Hare Krishna, then somehow they become a little more symmetric, you know. Some people have this, you know, inborn. Why? Because this kuta, it's changing. It's not a myth. It's a reality. It's really reality. You know, sometime in the future, scientists will take a devotee and they will show how the different genes will be activated and how some more, you know, you become more balanced in your, what is this kuta? Kuta means certain imbalances in your brain, which manifest as imbalances in your body, ultimately. And while practicing Krishna consciousness, if you practice it properly, you become more balanced in your brain. Did you notice it? That you become gradually little more balanced, little more, not so much extremes here and there. So that's kuta. But there is kuta of the kuta. Kuta of the kuta. The very tip of iceberg. You know, you change this. Kutam bijam. Bijam means desire. Desire which you already experience now. The desire which are raging in your body. You know, sex desire, which is already there. The lust which we have, or anger which we have, or, you know, all these desires which, you know, which are already there, which we already experience. Kuta means some future desires, which we could have developed, but luckily if we practice Krishna consciousness, we will not develop these desires. But desires which we already having now is the present part. This is bija. Bija, the seeds, they are not yet manifested, or maybe desires which very soon will appear in us. That's bija. Bija means karma in the form of very strong desires within our body. So if you continue practicing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. No desires, right? Right now, no desires. You're happy. You know, you will develop this state when all these bijas become deactivated, when they become, you know, as yogis they describe, the samskaras become thin. You know, now the samskaras are very thick, they're very strong. The pushes which they give to us, very strong, extremely strong. But the process of meditation, and Hare Krishna mantra is a process of meditation. By the process of meditation, we will make all the samskaras little less thick. They become thinner and thinner and thinner, weaker and weaker and weaker. And they're not pushing us so strong, all these vegas which are there. You know, Udaru, Pasta Vegas, they become more gentle and not so uncontrollable. We can control them, and we know, oh, this is good. This I can use this Vega, and I can use this desire in a proper way, and this desire I shouldn't use. So this is bija, and ultimately you will be able to control your bijas, your desires which are there. And then the last one is palonmukam, something which is already there. Palonmukam, something which you experience right now already, the sufferings which are there, some disease which may manifest already there, some imbalances, the completely ripened karma which have come to you. Even this you can get rid of. Even this you can change according to this verse of Padma Puran, but with more endeavor. Even the present karma which you already experienced, full-fledged, completely experienced, even this you can change by the practice of bhakti, but it will take little more endeavor. 64 rounds for 10-15 years, no problem. But if you are really serious, you can get rid of all your problems. You can completely, and then you will, Brahma Sukyam Tvanantam, you will experience this. You will experience this spiritual happiness. Ramanta Yogininante Satyananda Chidatmani. Just by chanting the name of Ram. Because this pleasure is there in the name. It's just because of our karma we are deprived at the moment of this pleasure. We're deprived, to a certain extent, deprived of the full experience of spiritual life, which is very high and very beautiful and very blissful. But if we're serious, we can get rid of it. But it takes time and some endeavor. So don't be despondent. Don't think that I will practice Krishna consciousness when I retire. It will be too late. Maybe a prarabdha you can get rid of, but even kuta will be difficult. You will already be diseased, and just do it now, and be sure that you will be rewarded. Otherwise, you will get so much karma and you will be reborn again. You will again be, for 9 months, a very nice place, dark, warm, near the stool and urine. and then you will be born and everyone will say, oh, such a nice baby. And you will say, bleh, 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 bleh. And if you're lucky, you will be born in a family of devotees, and you will say, Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. And then you'll become teenager, and you will say, I will go to IIT. To experience the real pleasure in life. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay.
You said we need to practice Krishna consciousness to balance our mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm practicing Krishna consciousness from past 1 week, but my situation in office is something different. Like my manager or team leader shouting because of not doing in-time work, but I'm freely sitting in my chair and singing like Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dhenabandha Jagat. I'm singing like that, they're shouting and I'm not listening to them. But my whole mind is running through the prayers we are doing in the morning prayer. So how to balance the both?
Balance basically means that you are composed inside, you are peaceful inside, and you do what is necessary. What people are doing, they are very susceptible. Why the mind is so imbalanced? Because there is all this, external influences are very easily throw us out of balance. We experience this and that. Krishna consciousness gives you some, internal composure and peace, and then you will be able to do the needful without being so much disturbed. The point is that we will have to live this life, we will have to go through different experiences, and then, somebody will yell at you. And, you may react differently on this. You may yell back, or you may say, yeah, nice, thank you very much, So basically, balance means that you remain internally balanced and you do the needful. So it's balance doesn't mean that you don't do anything. You're so well. Maybe you already reached the stage when you don't need to do anything. So then just be balanced and don't do anything. No problem. You're anyway balanced. But if you still need to do something, then do the needful, but remain balanced inside, not be disturbed. Okay, Hare Krishna.